Hey everyone, so today I want to talk about the 5-year ownership experience of my Toro Zero Turn Mower. Now this model specifically is the Toro Titan HD 1500 series. Now they don't actually make the Titan HD series anymore, but a lot of the features and aspects have gone on to be used in other Toro Zero Turn mowers. If this was still available today, this would essentially be situated between a Toro Titan Max and a Z Master 2000. And at the time it was available, it was touted as either being entry-level commercial or heavy-duty residential. So for a commercial user that might just be getting into the business and maybe they have a few accounts or maybe they don't have a budget to go for a Z Master, or in my case, heavy duty residential, something that is above time cut or something that's going to have really essentially commercial features in it, that if you're willing to invest a little bit more money and you're willing to make sure that you maintain and not abuse this machine, something like this for residential use is going to last for decades. And that's basically where I was at. It wasn't really that much more money than a Time Cutter or even a Time Cutter HD, and it really had a really nice build spec on it of a lot of heavy duty parts that should last for a very, very long time. And I do make sure that I maintain this mower properly, which brings me into my next point. The maintenance on this mower. It is pretty simple to maintain. I have to give Toro a lot of credit. They put together a very good owner's manual for these machines. They outline the maintenance schedules that need to be done, what needs to be done, what needs to be done at certain hour intervals, and it goes over how to maintain them, the actual steps of what needs to be changed and the steps to actually do it. So I give them a lot of credit in their owner's maintenance for doing a very thorough job of making sure that the maintenance on these is very simply explained. And being these are an air-cooled engine, these things really are not hard to maintain. Pretty much anybody can go through the owner's manual and read it and properly maintain these. You're really just doing things like oil changes, spark plugs, air filters, fuel filters. You're gonna have to change the transmission fluid once in a while. And then it's just a couple of simple maintenance items, making sure everything's good, visual inspections, there's a few grease points that you have to hit. But maintaining a machine like this is very simple, and Toro makes it very simple. Their customer service is really good if you ever have any questions with that. So maintaining a machine like this is actually very easy to do, and pretty much anybody, even if you're not very mechanically inclined, can usually figure out how to maintain a machine like this. So a lot of the features in this, as I explained before, this is kind of more of a commercial spec unit. We're starting to get into commercial aspects on it. So I've been overall very impressed with this machine. It's been extremely durable. I've been completely happy with this thing. And of all the features on this thing, probably what I've been most impressed with is the deck. This is Toro's Turbo Force decks. This is starting to get into their full commercial series decks, and these decks are fully fabricated, meaning all the pieces are welded together. Typically on a much cheaper machine, you're going to you see a lot more stamped steel where it's one piece of metal and they stamp the shape into it. With this, the metal's so thick you can't stamp it. They basically put all the pieces together and weld them together. And this is a mix of 7 and 10 gauge steel, which is very thick steel, and they put a bullnose bumper on the front of this. Now, I had this thing probably about 2 years, and I hit a tree stump, a low tree stump. I didn't see some grass with this thing at a pretty good speed, and it almost knocked me off the mower, and I was moving along pretty good. So I thought for sure that there was going to be a dent in this deck with how hard I hit that tree stump. I got off and I checked it. There wasn't even a dent. I couldn't believe that a deck could shrug off an impact so hard. It stopped the mower dead in its tracks and almost threw me off of it. It barely scuffed the paint. So I was very impressed with how absolutely bulletproof these Turbo Force decks are. Even the ones below with the iron forged decks, those are pretty impressive too. But these Turbo Force decks, if you want a deck that is just not only really fantastic cut quality, but unbelievably durable, these Turbo Force decks do a fantastic job. And they usually have these on the commercial series, and it's definitely worth the upgrade money to get one of these commercial Turbo Force decks. The frame is very stiff and strong. Sometimes when I'm going around various beds, tree beds, that are a little bit raised from the roots, it'll pull the inner front wheel off the ground because the frame is very stiff and very strong. So no complaints about the frame. You can definitely feel it's nice and stiff and strong. Transmissions, Hydro Gear ZT30-100s, entry-level commercial spec transmissions. This is geared for about 7 miles an hour cut speed, so good cut speed. And the The transmissions, I made sure I changed the fluid in them at the recommended interval. As long as I maintain them and don't abuse them, they should last a really long time. Hydro Gear makes the transmissions for a lot of mowers, and they seem to be really good, no complaints, very good controllability. Probably one of the biggest aspects of a zero-turn mower is going to be the engine. This has Toro's 24.5 horsepower air-cooled twin-cylinder engine. Now, this engine was pretty new when I got this mower, and a lot of people were kind of very concerned whether this was going to be a good engine or not. Now, and I only have about 140 hours on this because, like I said, I use it residentially, so I'm not really racking up the hours that a commercial user would. But so far, the engine's been fine. I've made sure I maintained it properly, and I've had no issues with it. And since then, they've gone on to put this engine onto a lot more of their commercial units, like some of their Z Masters. So I assume that this engine is holding up fine. I haven't seen any really major complaints about it, but like anything else, I think as long as you maintain it and don't abuse it, I think it's going to be fine. The power seems to be really good, even when I'm getting into some really tall grass and I'm starting to really work the machine. I can hear it starting to really work. It really doesn't bog down that much. I really need to push the mower beyond what I really should be to really get the engine to bog down. So I'm really happy. 24.5 horses is pretty good. I know a lot of people were concerned because this engine wasn't a Kohler, it wasn't a Kawasaki when this thing came out, but so far so good. No issues with this engine, good power, and it seems to work very well. So, and this also has a lot of nice features on it because this, like I said, this getting into a commercial spec, it's got the roll bar on it. So that's really nice. In the event you have a rollover, I really don't go on any crazy inclines, or it would happen, but you never know, things can happen. So having the safety of the roll bar, and then it's also a nice mount for the lights, which I'll get into. Also, what I like on the commercial spec zero turns, large fuel tanks. A lot of residential ones have really small tanks. That really annoys me. 3-gallon, 4-gallon tanks. You're constantly having to refill it, depending on obviously how much cutting you're doing. This is a 7-gallon tank on it, so I can go to the gas station, I can fill up my 5-gallon gas can, and I can put the whole thing in here, and I still got room if I want to go back for fuel for anything else, but I can usually get about 8 hours of cut time on this mower with a full 7-gallon fuel tank. So it's a lot of run time, and even if you're using this in more of a commercial setting, you should be able to get pretty much a whole day's work out of a full tank of fuel. So I like having that big tank. I have friends that have very large properties, 5 acres, and they're cutting with machines like this, and it's nice to be able to go out in one shot and mow and not have to come back and not have to refuel. So I really like the extra large gas tanks on these units. I think that's a fantastic feature that you're starting to see on some of the more heavy duty residential or getting into the commercial units. They also have this adjustment here for the deck height. It's pretty easy to read. It basically just has a magnetic pin. You basically put it to where you want it, the height. It has it in 1/4-inch increments, and then you can adjust it with that pin. You put the deck down with the foot lever, and it's very simple, very easy to adjust. So a lot of nice features on this, and when you go around and you really look at the mower, you can just see it's very well built. There is heavy duty steel plating everywhere. There is nowhere where they got cheap or skimped on this at all. All the metal you see on all the framing, whether it's for the wheels, the casters, all the framing on it, it's all heavy duty metal everywhere. And even some small stuff, like they perforate the holes on the footrest on the front rather than putting grip tape. It just wears out and gets ripped up and destroyed over time. They punch the perforated holes in there, which not only makes it stronger, but it's good grip for your feet, and it's something that's never going to wear out. So I think that this machine is very well thought out, very well put together, and honestly, something like this is not much more than a basic residential unit is, and I think it's well worth the investment to have something like this for years and years. Now, as far as accessories, I did a bunch of videos on this mower when I initially got it, and then the 1-year mark, and then I did a bunch of accessory videos, which I'll put at the end of this. So I wanted to get a bunch of accessories for this mower when I first got it. Now, I ended up getting all Toro genuine accessories on this. The Toro accessories are a little bit more expensive than, say, something more universal might be, but you're getting what you pay for. You're getting Toro quality. Everything fits perfectly. It's designed for these machines, and they work very well. First thing I did, a genuine seat cover for this. These seats are very expensive, surprisingly expensive. Once you start getting in some of the commercial units, these seats are very expensive on this, and they are vinyl. And vinyl is like the crack on a windshield. Once you tear vinyl, it gets worse and worse, and the foam starts coming out, and the seat basically just starts to fall apart over time. So I wanted to protect the seat because, like I said, these seats are pretty expensive. So seat covers, really not very expensive. This fits perfectly. It's designed for this exact seat. It's not like a universal one. It's designed exactly for this specific seat, and they have that for pretty much all their seats. It's got room for the cutouts for the armrest. It fits perfectly on here. It's got a couple of tabs on the back. You put like water bottles or any small items you might want to store behind the seat, but it's extremely durable. In the 5+ years I've had this thing, there's not even a scratch in the fabric. There's no damage on this thing. Me jumping on and off, and sometimes you're getting on and off your equipment. You might have a screwdriver or something in your pocket. You can tear a seat, but this cover is super stiff and strong, and it fits absolutely perfect. I put it on once. I'll probably never take it off again, and it'll guarantee that the seat underneath will stay protected, and I won't need to replace it. I also, at the same time, got Toro's light kit. Again, more expensive than a universal kit is going to be, but it is designed specifically for these mowers. There is a wiring harness that is built into the mower itself when it leaves the factory. This lighting kit connects directly to that wiring harness. There's no cutting, there's no splicing, there is no sort of having to fabricate your own wiring or lighting on this. It comes with everything needed. The switch had a hole here perforated. You just had to cut out a little spot for the switch, put it in, run the wires. The wiring all came with it, the clamps. Everything you needed for the kit plugs in one wire into the existing wiring harness, and then once the ignition's on, the lights come on. They're very bright. I've had to cut a couple times in the dark, and they do a really, really good job. They're very tough and durable, big, heavy heat sinks on them. I've hit tree branches with these things a lot. I'm surprised, honestly, I haven't broken them at some point. So when I hit some very large tree branches, I make sure I don't tighten them too much. So if they need to, they can spin out of the way if I hit something. But very impressed with how hard of a hit these things can take, too. Really great. And then also when I got the mower, a lot of these mowers will come with this mount on the front. This is for a service jack. Some of them don't have the mount. You can get the mount with the jack as a kit. Essentially, I also covered this in my accessories video. The jack slides on the front. If you're doing your own maintenance on these things, you're changing blades or whatever, it's something well worth having. It gets the mower really high off the ground, much higher than a floor jack, much safer than a floor jack is going to be. Gets a few feet off the ground. I'll throw a picture in of what it looks like when it's off. High enough you can climb under there. I remove the blades usually a couple times a year, check them, sharpen them, I clean the deck out. Great thing to have for when it's time to do maintenance on this thing, and another accessory that's not too expensive. And the last accessory that I put on to this mower was the mulching kit. I did a separate video just for the mulching kit because I kind of just wanted to get away from the side discharge over time and do the mulch kit. And what's nice about this kit, this is the same quality you would expect from Toro. It comes with the block-off plate, baffles, blades, zinc-plated hardware, and everything fit perfect. I couldn't believe how perfect this fit. I expected to have to do a little manipulating, maybe kind of cut some things to get it to fit perfectly. Right out of the bag, it fit absolutely perfect. Everything went into place. I didn't have to force anything in place. It came with all nylon locking nuts on everything, and it was absolutely fantastic. It's definitely helping improve the cut quality of the lawn, and now that I don't have the side discharge, you don't have to be as mindful of which direction you're going. Not only for the safety aspect of not kicking out debris and rocks that could potentially injure people or animals or cause damage to something, but I don't have to worry about ejecting grass or any sort of clippings or any sort of debris into mulch beds, flower beds, anything like that. So now I'm actually able to cut a little bit faster because I don't have to be necessarily as mindful which direction I'm going when I'm using the machine. The only bad thing about the mulching kits are it doesn't like tall grass as much as something like a side discharge does. So if you're in really tall grass, or say it's been raining a lot, you haven't had a chance to mow the lawn, maybe you've been away for a while and really haven't had a chance, you come back and the lawn is really long, you're probably gonna have to do a double cut. That's really the only downside of the mulching kit, is that it just doesn't like really long grass that's been neglected for a while. If you try to go through it, typically you're going to start noticing you get a little bit of lines between where the blades overlap, because it can't pull enough grass up, because as it's recirculating the grass around the blades to mulch them, it just can't do it fast enough. So you can slow down, it kind of helps a little bit, but typically what I will do is I'll just double cut it. I'll start off at a higher level, cut it once, and then go to a lower level to do that. That's basically, like I said, that's really the only downside of the mulching kit. So those were all the accessories that I did. Not a ton of stuff, just some basic stuff, but it definitely enhanced the mower itself and made it much easier to use. And there was stuff that really wasn't too expensive and definitely well worth the investment because it's all really well-built stuff. Now, problem. Have I had any issues with this in the 5 years that I've had this? Yes, 2 minor issues. First one, when it was brand new, for about the first season or so, there's a sensor in the seat. So essentially, when you're sitting in the middle of the seat, there's a sensor on it that if it doesn't sense your weight on it, like if, say, you're sitting and get up, or if you're not on it, you can't disengage the parking brake, you can't engage the blades, you can't engage the transmission, or as a safety measure, it automatically shuts the mower off. So I'd be sitting on the seat and say I would drop the parking brake to get ready to go, and the mower would shut off. I'm like, what was that? And then if I would look at the little symbol on the side here, and it would say that it's not sensing my weight. It was kind of sporadic doing it, and as time went on, that went away. So I guess the sensor was a little bit finicky, kind of had to break in a little bit, but after about the second season of using this, that pretty much went away. It never does it anymore. But it was a pretty simple thing. I just had to pick my weight up and put it back down on the seat, and it would usually be fine after that, but minor thing. And the only real issue I've had with this was, I think it was the second season I had it, one of the pulleys for the deck, I had a bearing failure on it. So I guess it was just a manufacturing defect, and the bearing essentially just locked up. It overheated, it actually melted the nylon lock nut, and it actually spun off. It didn't do any damage. It wasn't really a safety issue, but it essentially had a minor bearing failure. So it's a mass-produced part. Sometimes that kind of stuff happens, but it kind of brings me into my next point. I think it's really important when you're buying equipment like this to buy this from your local mower shop, because they are a fantastic resource for maintenance, for repairs, if you have questions, things like that. I buy all my equipment from the local mower shop, so when I have an issue, he's there for me. So whether I need to grab a part last minute, a lot of accessories I got from him, I have questions. When I had that failure, I'm able to call him, hey, here's what happened, no problem. Brings up my account, brings up the mower, he has the serial number, he can bring up the schematics. All right, it's the smaller one, the lower one, yep, that's it, no problem. It's under warranty. Didn't even have to go in there, didn't have to stop by. He ordered the part. Same thing with the accessories, because I have a really good relationship with him. When I want, hey, I need to order that mulching kit for this. Awesome. All right, I have your account, I have the mower number, I got it ordered. All right, you need me to come down and put a deposit? Nope, I know you're good for it. You buy all your stuff here. So that's why it's really important to support your local small engine shop, your local mower shop. They're really there for you when you need them for various repairs. Not even just mowers, they do all kinds of other things, power washers and all kinds of other equipment. So I like to have a good relationship with them because they're there if I need them. If it's something that I can't rectify through Toro customer service, which is very good, the local guy's there to help me with that, and he has all my information. So basically, would I buy this mower again? Yes. They don't, like I said, they don't make this model anymore, but I would buy something of similar quality. It's worth it. Like I said, it's worth the extra bit of money to buy something really heavy duty. If you're going to have something, a piece of equipment like this for a very long time, decades, spend a little bit of extra money, get something heavier duty, because it's going to reward you as long as you maintain it and don't abuse it. It's going to reward you in lasting a very, very long period of time. And I have no doubt that this thing is going to last me a long time. I make sure I go through my owner's manual, I go through the maintenance guide, I take care of everything that needs to be taken care of. And the mowers, it's been fantastic for me. And I do only residential cutting with it. I help out the neighbors occasionally and mow some of the more communal areas in the neighborhood that no one really takes care of, because I like to have a nice neighborhood to live in. But the mower's been fantastic. I have absolutely zero complaints. I think Toro makes some of, if not the best, zero-turn mowers, and you need to kind of figure out what are you going to be using it for and how much you want to invest in your machine. But overall, a fantastic machine that I really can't say enough good things about. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.